There's a season in every life that no one prepares you for. Not the dramatic collapse, not the breakup or the betrayal. It's what comes after, the quiet part. When the dust settles and you look around and realize no one is coming, no one is going to fix this. Most people treat this as a crisis. They rush to fill the silence with distractions, new relationships, noise, anything to avoid sitting in that discomfort. But Carl Jung saw something different in this moment. He called it the night sea journey, the descent into darkness that every soul must make before it can truly come alive. Not the beginning of suffering, but of transformation. Today I want to walk through what that journey actually looks like, because the strength you've been searching for in other people has been inside you this entire time. You just haven't been still enough to find it. Part 1. When the world goes quiet. The first thing that happens when life strips away your supports is a specific kind of loneliness, not the loneliness of an empty room. You can be surrounded by people and feel this. It's the loneliness of no longer belonging to the life you once had. Conversations that used to energize you feel hollow. People you once felt close to seem to exist behind glass. Something fundamental has shifted inside and nobody around you seems to notice. Jung would say, this is the moment the persona starts to crack. The mask, the version of you that learned how to be acceptable. It served you well, but now it's too small. And the discomfort you feel isn't a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that you're outgrowing what no longer fits. Most people panic here. They try to rebuild the old mask faster. But what if instead of running, you stayed? After her marriage ended, a woman I know found the silence in her apartment so loud it frightened her. For weeks she tried to escape it, but eventually she ran out of distractions, so she just sat with it. She made dinner for herself. She journaled. She let the questions she'd been avoiding finally surface. Months later, she said, silence stopped being my enemy. It became the first place I could actually hear myself. That's what Jung meant by the meeting with the self. It only happens when you stop running. And it only happens alone. Part 2. The trap of borrowed strength. Once you begin to tolerate solitude, you'll notice something uncomfortable. How much of your emotional stability has depended on other people? Not in obvious ways, in subtle ones. The text that calms your anxiety, the compliment that makes you feel competent, the partner whose presence reassures you that you matter. Jung saw how people project their unmet needs onto others, how we unconsciously assign people the role of saving us from feelings we were never taught to sit with. When they respond, we feel whole. When they withdraw, we unravel. The woman who panics when her partner doesn't text back isn't reacting to silence. She's reacting to an old belief planted in childhood that says, when people go quiet, it means I don't matter. Learning to soothe yourself means becoming the steady presence you've been looking for in everyone else. When sadness rises, you don't immediately reach for your phone. You place a hand on your chest, you breathe, you say quietly, I'm still here, I'm not leaving. That small act, repeated enough times, rewires something deep. You stop needing constant proof that you're valued because you've started valuing yourself. Not as a concept, as a practice. You still love, you still connect, but you no longer collapse when the connection shifts. Your center holds because it's finally yours. Part 3. Dropping the story. There's a habit that keeps people trapped long after the wound has passed, retelling it. Every time you rehearse the story of how you were wronged, you feel a small rush of justification. The ego loves this. It feels like processing, but it's a loop. Each time you circle through it, you cement the identity of someone things happen to rather than someone who acts. A woman I spoke with spent 6 months telling anyone who'd listen about the friends who betrayed her. Same details, same anger, until one night she asked herself, if no one were here to hear this, would I still be telling it? The answer was no. The next morning she opened her journal and wrote something different. Not what happened to her, but what she wanted to build next. This doesn't mean denying pain, feel it fully. But there's a difference between sitting with grief and building a home inside it. At some point, the question has to change. Not why me, but what now? Every time you make that shift, you reclaim energy that was locked inside the complaint. You stop being the protagonist of a tragedy and start becoming the author of something new. Part 4. Becoming your own witness. Now comes the hardest part. You've sat with solitude, you've stopped outsourcing your stability, you've released the victim narrative, you're doing the work. But nobody sees it, no recognition, no applause, no one saying I'm proud of you. This is the test most people fail. Not because the work is too hard, but because invisibility is unbearable. Jung said, the most terrifying thing a person can do is accept themselves completely. Because once you do, the responsibility for your worth rests entirely with you. A woman I knew was consistently the last person in her office. She poured everything into her work, but recognition always went to someone else. Then she made a quiet decision. She stopped working to be seen and started working to see herself. After each project, she wrote down what she'd done well. She acknowledged her own effort. She told me, external validation lasts for minutes. What I give myself stays. Think of a lighthouse. It doesn't shout. It doesn't chase ships. It stands steady and luminous and becomes a point of orientation for anyone lost at sea. That's what happens when you validate yourself from the inside. You stop performing and start radiating. Part 5. The discipline of continuing. The last piece is the least glamorous. There will be days when you feel nothing, no motivation, no inspiration, no sense that any of this matters. Everything in you will want to stop. Jung distinguished will from emotion carefully. Emotion is weather. It changes constantly. Will is direction. It keeps you moving when the wind dies. A single mother I knew woke at 5 every morning. 2 jobs, a child, a dream she'd shelved for years. There came a point where passion was completely gone. But when her son asked, "Mum, what happened to your dream?" something shifted. Not inspiration, responsibility. She started waking 15 minutes earlier to read, writing 3 small goals each day, saving whatever she could. A year later, she opened a bakery. No one helped. She simply refused to let exhaustion make the decision for her. "I stopped waiting to feel ready," she said. "I just needed to keep choosing." That's the secret about rising alone. It doesn't feel heroic. Most days it feels like stubbornness, quietly doing the next small thing when everything says stop. But those unglamorous moments of discipline are what actually build a life. If you're standing in this silence right now, unseen, unsupported, hear this clearly. You are not failing. You are in the forge. Everything you've been searching for, the love, the peace, the recognition, these aren't things other people give you. They're things you uncover when you stop outsourcing your wholeness to the world. You were never incomplete. You were just looking in the wrong direction. Turn inward. The answers are already there, patient and steady, waiting for you to get quiet enough to hear them. That's how you rise when no one is beside you, not through force, through return.